That's what I just said.
I know, it's just the way you said it was like
Good morning. Like being a mom?
No, like I was asked, or like I was telling you to varnish them, and you're like, I already did.
No.
And I was like, it was just a question if it was done or not.
Good morning. Oh, good. You have lotion.
I do. I was using that. What was I doing the other night?
Get a little more.
I gave up on the spatula putty, or the
There we
putty
go.
spatula.
No, I don't look as fat as I thought I did.
I was using, anyways.
Hands are dry.
Yes, my hands are dry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Just talk amongst yourselves.
We're going live so you can watch us talk to each other. That's what we do here. Right when we're going live, that little bit was just because we did the mason jar workshop last night. And these are the jars.
I love yours.
Good morning, Will. I am really happy with how mine came out. So these are going to be, I think it's super fun, sidetracking, because it wouldn't be me if I wasn't rabbit trailing. We did our mason jar workshop last night. It was a lot of fun, learning kind of some techniques. Patty here spent the last month trying every possible way of painting mason jars to find the most durable. So with the Wise Owl varnish, you said it takes 30 days to fully cure. So be gentle with it for your first 30 days, but once it dries, this thing is going to be tough as nails. But I did a set of 3 jars for each of my girls. So they've got a big one, a medium one, and a smaller one. They're going to be, I've been chewing on for a while, like what to do for them for their money. To start teaching them how to manage money. So the big one's going to be savings, the medium one's going to be spend, and then the small one's going to be give, which a lot of people have pointed out. Why is your give the smallest one? But it's because you should be regularly emptying it, whereas your savings, you shouldn't be regularly emptying it, and some spending gets some out.
No, not that it's bad to, anyway.
But
without giving away all the technique of what we did last night, just because, that doesn't seem very fair to the people
that came and paid money to find out the technique.
But so your colors are very muddled. Did you did like the bold color first, and then you thinned it down, or you mixed it with white?
Honestly, kind of on everyone it was different. So for this one, this is for Addie. I was like, who was the pink for? This one's for Addie. So in this one, I did actually a mix of lotus, and I painted the entire jar lotus. And then I did a mix of mandarina and lotus.
Which is gorgeous together.
It's like, mandarina is an orange, and so is an orange pink. So that one kind of blended, and then I daubed all over the circles with the spouncer, and then I just used a wet spouncer to blend them.
Gotcha.
This one was a watered down version of Neptune. So this one, it's really cool because Violet has a dinosaur theme going on, and this just feels like dinosaur skin. And then this one,
Neptune was
2 different shades of custom blended purple.
I discovered it too late because they were bringing on new colors, and that was one of the older colors.
Yeah.
So it's actually been discontinued.
Sadly, because it's gorgeous.
But
I think I'll be ordering that one in a gallon at a time, just to keep it.
It's
so pretty. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of texture and variation.
That's what I think is. I think that sometimes it's like we get so enchanted by, because there's so many beautiful colors, rich colors.
Pink is probably the least.
But I think it's super fun to hold that one up. That's it's not a brand new color. It's Prussian. It's not a brand new color to Wise Owl, but we just finally got some to play with.
So pretty.
But I think it's just shows you that even within the beautiful color, like playing with the blending and mixing and thinning down, or just you can get
a lot of different things going
more dramatic,
on.
different results. So
yeah.
super fun. That was a
huge rabbit trail.
Yeah.
What we intended on talking about. Bonus. But here we are this Saturday morning. Now that we've had that huge rabbit trail, I realize we did not introduce ourselves.
Hey.
Hey, girl.
Or guy.
Or guy.
Case may be.
I'm more concerned the first comment was from top fan Will Baker. So, good morning. We're the Rustic Girls. If you don't know who we are, my name is Patty. This is my mom and business partner. My name is Katie. Let me just drink some coffee.
I'm Patty.
How do you introduce yourself as the wrong person?
Well,
Hot Mess Express.
Perhaps you just want
I
to
want to
be
be
me.
you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is my business partner and mother, Patty. I'm Katie. We co-own.
We think. No one really knows.
We co-own Rustic Redemption here in Granite Falls, Washington, as well as we have our Barn Loft online community of women that we are
Promise this is
encouraging.
This is just coffee.
Encouraging and educating and empowering to create beautiful homes, live intentional lives, and pursue their creative dreams. Just grabbed a cup of coffee from the hook line, and now I'm headed up the mountain to work in the rain. Yay! Well, joy time at the property will. I'm kind of jelly. I haven't been up there in over a week, and I miss it. And Hookline is the best in town. Hands down. I'll fight you if you disagree with me. But yeah, so here we are. We're excited this morning. We're going to talk about just the concept of intentional living and what does intentional living look like when you find yourself saying, I'm too busy. Good morning, Kate. How are you today? So yeah, when I'm too busy, what does intentional living end up looking like?
Yeah. When you're, it kind of, they don't really sync.
They don't play together. They're kind of like two magnets you're trying to push together and they're fighting each other. Well, first that I would say you have to think about is what do you define intentional living as? We really hit hard on this in January. This is kind of like, you're starting the new year, you want to be focused. And I think that's what it comes down to with intentional living is having focus, knowing what your priorities are, knowing what you want out of life.
Well, it's kind of intentional, with the very essence of the word intentional.
Yeah, is knowing,
deliberate and with intent. What are you laughing at?
I can't share it. We have a family conversation going, and it's making jokes that I can't share. They're just hilarious. I thought it was going to be like a tip, like, hey, when you forget to introduce yourself as yourself. Hi, Pam. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning.
But yeah, so I feel like just when you think about that, intentional living, it's all about with purpose. And so knowing what your priorities are, kind of establishing what your purpose is, and then what your goals are that fit within those parameters of those priorities of, you think about, for me, it's my kids and my family, my husband, this business. I really believe that both of those are ministries I've been given. They're not just, jobs to do. And so those are two things that are big priorities in my life. And it's like, okay, well, what do I want? What's my goals for my kids? What's my goals for my relationship with my spouse? And what's my goals for the business? And like aligning my life to fit that. And I think that's really what intentional living to me is how you would define it is with purpose, with knowing what your priorities are and where you're headed. And and I think that's the first step when you're thinking like, okay, so if I find myself saying I'm too busy, how does that fit with intentional living is knowing this is what I define as intentional living. This is what I define like what I want my life to be and what I want my life to reflect. You can hear my kids through the floor.
Is that, I was trying to
discern
if it was kids or if it almost sounded like a cat going, meow.
Violet with the mouse voice, I'm pretty sure. It's so entertaining. And like sometimes you're sitting down here going, what are they doing up there? But yeah, focusing, which we clearly have zero of that this morning.
Oh my word.
You know, I find that if I'm not constantly like checking in with where I want to be and where those major goals are, I'm going to get off track.
Well, and I think even within your, I feel like this is another little side road, but even within your priorities, your purpose, and you're like, okay, these are the things that are important. These are, it's even easy if you're not careful to get skewed just within those parameters. Maybe you're not adding extra things in that's keeping you too busy, but maybe you're so busy with one that you're
not devoting the right amount of time to
what's
each.
the word I'm looking for? Depleting. But yeah, you're not.
You're not giving the other things the focus
exactly.
they need. Yeah.
And then
so
there are seasons for that, for sure. When
one
these all may be
your
your big priorities in life, but too busy.
Too busy. And I think that it's really important, like you're saying with checking in, is for me, I have at the front of my day planner, I really like day designer day planners because it's all about kind of figuring out having that focus of what your goals are. And so at the front of my day planner, I have my priorities and kind of my goals that I have for those priorities that I like to see happen, like big goals. And then it's like every week when you open the planner, every week they have your top 3. So those are the big things I want to accomplish this week, followed by each day with its mini to-do list. And so it really helps you if you're making your top 3 based on, A, what's most pressing, but B, also based on what are some big goals that I'm wanting to take steps towards. And then each day I can break down if I want to accomplish, like when I'm rehabbing a dresser, I'm like, if I want to accomplish finishing that dresser this week, well, this day I'm going to do this coat, this day I'm going to do this day I'm going to distress. So it really helps you kind of keep on track and focused on your priorities.
Well, and mine set up similarly, but mine it's like
it's more of a
basically
mindset.
it's a division. It's a division. The top of my pages, it's a 2-page spread, and the top are basically the divisions of my life. These are the areas of my life. I have, and I've defined those. I have my community, and I have, even within, for me, I had to break it down because we have different components of our business. So there's the shop, and then there's
the barn loft,
our barn loft,
and then you ladies here, and gentlemen.
So, and family, or my personal, but I think what gets us in trouble are all the things, the busy that never makes it to our calendars. We can have the best laid out, but it's the busy is what eats up our time, and that's not on our schedule. And it's like, for me, this helps me to look at how I'm using my time, but I still end up with too much on my plate. So it's taking that time to look at those things, like,
and I think,
well, and for me, things like, social media, I can get on there for, important things, and I get derailed, and,
How many people go check the time and then find themselves looking at the Facebook app? Like,
or Instagram.
How did it get here?
Pinterest, yeah.
I wanted to know what time it was.
So I'm curious, like, I think that's the first step, is identifying what some of those time wasters are.
Time suckers.
Time suckers, yep. And that's going to help us.
Yeah. Stay focused. So I think that when you find yourself saying I'm too busy, to me that's like a flag. An alarm bell should be going up. If I find myself saying, I want to do this, but I'm too busy right now, I have to pause and go, okay, well, first, is what that thing is that within my priorities? Because sometimes people will approach you like, hey, you want to support this? Do you want to volunteer here or participate? And you're like, I'd love to do it. It sounds nice, but I'm too busy. Well, I fervently believe that there's no such thing as I'm too busy. It's all about priorities. And because we can't do everything. And so I don't think it's bad to say...
It's an easy answer.
It's an easy answer to say I'm too busy. But to me, it's kind of a cop-out. Like, honestly, like, it's not on my priority list. And I have to decide. Like, we all are given the same 24 hours. And we have to decide where are we supposed to be spending it. Because you cannot spend it everywhere.
Well, and I think by you stepping up to the plate, I mean, it's an opportunity to help
start
others.
The conversation.
To start the conversation and to help others. Because, I mean, sometimes for me, it's like when somebody else steps up and, you know, they might say something like, you know, that sounds like a great opportunity, and I would love to be able to help you with that. But right now, my family and my marriage, my business are really, that's where my focus is, and that's where I don't have extra time for that. And it's not telling somebody else what to do. It's not telling them your priorities are all screwed up. But I think sometimes, you know, I think many of us have that I'm too busy or I don't have time. Yeah. And it's really just, we've decided how we're going to spend our time. Gutsy enough to be honest sit down and yeah. And I think that's, I mean, what it comes down to, it's like when you hear yourself saying I'm too busy, then that should be a red flag to pause and go back to, which is why I keep going back to, it's so important to have your priorities written down. Even if you don't have your goals broken down within those priorities, know what your priorities are, because that's something you can go back to. Like the instant you're like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling too busy, or I'm saying I'm too busy. I can pause and go, well, wait a minute. What's going on in my life that this is happening? And I can go back and look at my priorities and go, oh, okay, well, see, this thing and this thing and this thing, they don't belong in my calendar. Right.
You know, and intentional living, sometimes it's not even about commitments. You know, you touched on phones. I try to be good about not having my phone on me during family time, which is why my children will probably grow up and be like, what the heck? All the other kids have several external hard drives of photos from their childhood because we photograph everything. And my kids will have 1 or 2 pictures, just like when cameras were first coming out. Because I usually if I take pictures, I take it right at the beginning or right at the end, and then I put my phone away. But there are times, and usually it's when my daughter, in her wisdom, says, focus, mama, is when I have my phone out too much and I'm too distracted by even social media is a huge, or, you know, Pinterest, which isn't even really a social media. It's like flipping through a catalog all day long, a never-ending catalog of ideas. And so I think, you know, anything evaluating, maybe it's not commitments. Maybe it's just time suckers that I'm spending too much time on.
And I think, dare I say, I'm just going to make a statement and then I'm going to explain. People can be time suckers. You have to guard that. You know, I've lived in neighborhoods where, you know, you may be working in and there's nothing wrong with like visiting with your neighbors. I think that's great. But you can get sucked into standing out for 3 hours, chit-chatting about stupid stuff and then you don't get dinner started. Right. You're not helping your kids with their homework or whatever else.
Whatever commitments you
whatever
have.
Other things that are important. And there are people that will, I think you have to be very prayerful of your conversation time. You know, when unexpected things, because there are people that they'll stand there and they don't want your help. They don't want your advice. They don't want, you know, you to pray for them. You know, they just want to stand there and complain and gripe and gossip. And so you have to guard that too, because that can eat up a lot of your time. But at the same time, that's why I say be prayerful about it.
Sometimes it's needed.
Sometimes that is. Yeah, sometimes that is. Don't be so quick to say, well, my schedule says that I should be working on that. I mean, because that's that should be on all of our priority lists to be a
So Shannon says, great reminders of what's important. Great way to start Saturday morning. Thank you, Shannon. It's always nice. I was just thinking that. It's always nice when you get that feedback, and it kind of refills our tank when we know people are liking what we're saying or liking what we're putting out, and not just, that's nice. So thank you. I think it's a reminder we all need. I mean, I think for me, every time I talk about it with you guys, it's the reminder to me myself.
Me too.
To implement and to keep doing those things.
Right, because it's easy just to get the tides of life just kind of keeps chugging you along, and next thing you know, you're in a spot where you're like, oh my gosh, like all these things are not getting done, and I'm overwhelmed and over busy, and now I have this huge to-do list backlog of important stuff. So it is good to always kind of evaluate.
I do think I want to sidebar as we start wrapping up, because we're going to have to go join our ladies in the barn loft. But I want to tip it so where you can see the dresser in the background. Just going to take me picking this up a little bit. So if you can see in the upper corner, right there, there's a dresser that the drawer fronts are super distressed. And that started as a project that I had a very specific vision for, and due to some poor execution on my part, I had to sand it down to restart. But in that, you just touched on, in that being flexible, which I think goes with being intentional about budgeting pockets of time throughout your week where you're available, so that you're not like so back-to-back booked that you're like, I can't stop and have this conversation I feel like I need to have. And that was this dresser. I started sanding down, and I was looking at it, and I was thinking, man, I was just going to sand it down, fix what I did wrong, and go back to the original plan. And I started looking at it thinking, I really like what it's doing. I feel like this is what it's supposed to look like. And then I'm thinking that, and then you said it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, because a second person is thinking, that's really cool. I feel like that's what this is supposed to be doing. And so I ended up playing with it just a little bit, writing it down some glaze. And the end result is so cool and so not what I originally planned, but I think it's going to be really beautiful when it's done. And so I think that just fits really beautifully with that idea of when we're flexible a little bit and we have that room to be flexible. Sometimes really beautiful things happen.
Right. And I think it's easy. It's easy to
shake.
I think it's easy to get very focused, especially when we sit down at the beginning of the year. A lot of us do, and we kind of, okay, what do we want our year to look like? And we figure out what's important. And I think with being flexible, because, sometimes maybe that's not God's plan for us for our whole year. And midway,
Life takes a turn.
Yeah, he's going to tweak us because this is a more important priority. So it's like always being that flexible, willing to adjust. But again, just bringing it back to
it's a flexible firm. I like the idea of when you learn about French parenting, which I got really into for a while, and I implemented a lot. And they talk about that. I mean, they're really big on creating a strong frame for your kids to grow up in. So there's really not a ton of rules. There's a few basic hard rules, and they're more broad, but they're like the framework. And within that framework, there's a lot of flexibility to express yourself, to kind of do your thing. And I think that really fits too with when you're an adult. I mean, really, let's be honest. We all think about growing up and getting away from our parents. But when you become an adult, what it is
you have to parent yourself.
Yeah, you become your own parent. Like, you have to, or you go nowhere in life.
Infinitely harder.
Yes, I kind of wish I had my mom over my shoulder cracking a whip on me. And she's very graciously allowing me to be an adult and figure it out for myself.
Most of the time. Sometimes I'm like,
I step in and help you out with that.
Have you thought about this?
But yeah, I mean, I think it's, you build a framework for your life, and those are your priorities. They become that framework. But then leaving flexibility within for what that ends up looking like, I think there's a lot of room to just have beautiful moments that aren't planned, but that only happens when you're not too busy. We got to hop over to the barn loft. We're going to hang out with our leaves there for a little bit. I'm kind of digging a little deeper into this, a little more practical, hands-on advice for daily use. Sidebar before I get off. Let's just talk about how amazing this stuff is. It's Norwex hand cream. It smells like, I know, it smells like creamsicles, those delicious ice cream bar things. And we found it just in time for them to discontinue it.
Story of my life.
So I snatched up the last tube and gave it to Mom for her birthday. That Our Lady had. Oh my gosh, though. You put it on. That's why I keep rubbing my hands. They're so soft.
So soft.
There's paint from last night.
No, I'm like, these last couple of projects have really been starting to, you can tell I'm getting back to painting a lot more.
I just painted them last week and they look like garbage. But yeah, you can tell.
Yep.
Because that was me. I got paint on my nails and then the paint chips off the nail polish. So.
Anyways,
we hope you guys have a beautiful Saturday. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And we'll be back here next Saturday. But also during the week, there's always fun stuff going on.
Right. I'm working on our shop page. I've got a couple of pieces I'm working on in the shop and through lives on the Rustic Redemption page. So kind of going through the process.
We'll probably share them
start
over
to
here.
Finish.
It'll be good. Lots of fun stuff going on. So I hope you guys have a beautiful Saturday. It looks like it's going to be a drizzly one here. But I'm excited. I'm supposed to pick up a hutch this morning.
Woohoo.
Stay tuned. So be kind to each other and have a good day.
Bye.